Titanic Remembrance. On April 15th, the Titanic Remembrance honors the lives lost when the Titanic sank into the North Atlantic's icy waters in 1912. We remember the more than 1,500 people who died that day. Some 100,000 people attended the ship's launch the first time the immense White Star liner made its way into the water on May 31, 1911 in Belfast. It's estimated that 100,000 people, or roughly one-third of the population in Belfast, watched the just over a minute-long launch. Only 3 of Titanic's 4 funnels worked. The robust ship's 4 funnels were partially for show. Only 3 of the funnels ejected soot. The other was merely used for ventilation purposes and added a certain majestic aesthetic to the ship. The ship's main anchor weighed 16 tons or 32,000 pounds. 20 horses were required to transport the anchor 2 miles from the casting site in the town of Netherton to the train station in Dudley in 1911. The ship carried 2,223 passengers and crew. Of the people aboard the Titanic, 1,517 did not survive the sinking of the ship following a collision with an iceberg. The ship was not even at full capacity. It could hold more than 3,500 people. Milton Hershey was supposed to be on the Titanic. The man who invented the famed Hershey's milk chocolate bar wrote a $300 check to reserve his stateroom on the RMS Titanic. Business took precedence, and Hershey and his wife missed out on the excursion. There was plenty of liquor and cigars on board. There were 20,000 bottles of beer and 1,500 bottles of wine stocked on the ship. In addition to plentiful alcohol, there were 8,000 cigars on board, all of which was available for first-class patrons. Royal Mail Steamer Titanic was the official name. The designation Royal Mail Steamer, or RMS, has been around since the mid-19th century. Because mail had to arrive on time and ships were penalized for delays, the designation was a mark of quality. Nearly 200 ships, including the Titanic, received the designation. First-class patrons enjoyed a heated swimming pool. Passengers who were able to afford first-class tickets enjoyed luxurious treatment and many indulgences. The wealthy got to taste delicacies at Parisian cafes, relax in tea gardens, read in the library, and play tennis in a squash court, just to name a few of the first-class perks. The iceberg that hit the ship may have jutted out 100 feet above the water. The iceberg that the Titanic collided with is speculated to have been anywhere from 50 to 100 feet above water. The entire iceberg is believed to have been between 200 and 400 feet long. The iceberg made a 300-foot gash in the hull of the ship. Titanic's captain, Edward Smith, believed the ship had grazed over the top of the iceberg, but he was in for a rude awakening when the crew assessed the site of the strike. 5 compartments had already flooded with water, and the bow was already beginning to submerge. It may seem like common sense for a ship to immediately release safety lifeboats upon a hull breach. The Titanic, however, did not release its first lifeboat until an entire hour had passed. Over half the people on board could have survived if all the space available on the lifeboats was used. On April 15, 1912, the Titanic sank and claimed the lives of more than 1,500 people. Two young brothers survived the sinking without a guardian. Edmund and Michael went down in history as the only children to survive the Titanic without a parent. They were 2 years apart in age and were nicknamed the Titanic Orphans. Their father, Michael Sr., kidnapped them from their mother, whom he was no longer with, and planned to take them to America. The last anyone saw of him was when he put his children in the lifeboat. The Titanic lies 12,600 feet underwater. The ruins of the Titanic lie nearly 2.5 miles beneath the surface of the ocean, approximately 370 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. The ship broke in two, and the gap between the bow and the stern is about 2,000 feet on the seabed. A specific bacteria is slowly consuming the wreckage. What remains of the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean will eventually be entirely eaten away by rust-eating bacteria. This microorganism can adhere to steel surfaces and forms the rusticles seen on the hull of the wreckage. 6,000 artifacts were recovered from the wreckage site. Treasures rescued from the Titanic are in high demand. Among the 6,000 artifacts was a violin that sold for $1.7 million in 2013 at an auction house in the United Kingdom. The Titanic ship plan sold in 2011 for $336,000.